she also wants to honor her husband, who is
Yes.
also a Powelton Village resident.
Yes.
Thank you.
I want you to walk with me. I've contemplated the Star Spangled Banner and the words in the Star Spangled Banner, and often wondered what it meant to all the people of this, our country. So, as a little girl, we learned a lot of patriotic songs. So I would like to start the Star Spangled Banner with a song that means a lot as far as this country is concerned. I hope I get the right key. What difference if I hailed from north or south, or from the east or west? My heart is filled with love for all of these. I only know I swell with pride, and deep within my breast I thrill to see Old Glory paint the breeze. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watch were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? The United States of America.
Welcome, Arthur. You'd like to say a few words.
Thank you. My name is Arthur Kaiser. I'm a resident of Powelton Village, longtime resident of the village. In fact, my son we raised here in Powelton. He's here today. Years before that, I was in the U.S. Army, stationed in Vietnam. I was a first lieutenant, company commander, and battalion adjutant. So I certainly honor the veterans today. I want to just highlight Corporal Cochran's one thing is boxing ability, where he made short work of his opponents. Unfortunately, his life was short too when he was deployed to France, and 2 months in country, he was killed. Bitter battlefield bed. He was killed on a numbered hill. He was a number as far as a casualty in a war that had a number, and these numbers go on and on and on. And so today, I want to take liberty as far as my being in civilian clothes, but I see a lot of flags, so I will take that liberty and salute Corporal Cochran.
Thank you very much.
The first Allied regiment to cross the Rhine in the offensive against Germany. Even though several full-length accounts were published about the remarkable exploits of African American soldiers in World War I, within a few years after the end of the war, all left much to be desired. But in 1974, Barbeau and Henri dug through military records and personal papers of participants to put together this book. As the authors wrote in the preface, some will be indignant at the story, others will be indignant at the authors, but it has no point been our purpose to arouse emotion, only to tell the truth as nearly as we can from thorough research. That black soldiers could be good soldiers is amply attested and illustrated. That black troops, both labor and combatant, were objects of ambivalence of racism, the double-barreled desire to use a black man like an inferior, yet have him perform like an equal, to deal with him according to a double standard, but judge him by a single standard. And you can tell these authors are being very, very direct. And this is part of why the book was such an eye-opener for me, because I had never read anything like this. The rewards for all the blood and sweat black troops left in France were few. They were not permitted to march in the Great Allied Victory Parade in Paris, although the parade included black troops of England and France. And in the huge war memorial, La Pantheon de la Guerre, in which were pictured those who had contributed to the final victory, black troops of all the Allies were represented, excepting only black Americans. Yet these black soldiers had given not only labor and blood to the French cause, but compassion also. Moved by the plight of the many French children bereft by war, black servicemen, before they went home, had contributed 300,000 francs to the War Office Fund. The press here did comment on the scant attention paid most black troops on the return home. In large northern cities, they were welcomed with respect, if not enthusiasm. But in rural areas, especially in the South, they more often met hostility. There were reports of black soldiers stopped at Southern Railroad stations and stripped of their uniforms. In Washington, D.C., the outspoken Reverend Francis Grimke at a reception for black soldiers listed the humiliations they had suffered, adding, quote, "That shameful record is going to be written up and published so that the whole world may read it and learn how these black men who went out from these shores to die at their country's call were treated this way simply because of the color of their skin." So, you know, it's been a tradition here to remember all veterans, not just Corporal Cochran. So today, let us remember these unknown soldiers as well.
Finally, I want to point out our state representative, Donna Bullock, who was so graceful as to come here, and I think Donna might want to say a word or two.
Thank you, Blaze. Good morning, everyone. It is truly an honor to be here today with our Powelton civic neighbors and, of course, the family of Mr. Corporal Cochran. You know, we talk about history and placemakers, and it's significant that on this Memorial Day, we are honoring not only Corporal Cochran, but many others who have given the ultimate sacrifice. And I just want to acknowledge the work of Joel and Virginia and Isabel. I believe that was the team that did the hard work and Facebook sleuthing and Ancestry.com and every other tool that was available to them, because we don't want to go years and generations and decades later and not know our history in our communities. I know we still got some work to do. We want to understand more about the story of Corporal Cochran, but it's important that our neighbors and our young people understand the reason why our streets are named what they are. Schools are named who they're named after, and why we have little placemakers like this in our communities. At times when we forget that history, we may not understand the subliminal messaging that may be there when we don't know the history. And particularly now, as we're calling out the names of schools and names of streets to be renamed, because we're finding history that we may not really want to keep or honor in our communities in certain ways. These are the ones we want to keep. These are the ones we want to honor. Gentlemen like Corporal Cochran, who gave their lives for our country, whose family and descendants are just his legacy of the kind of man that he was. And so it's an honor today to be here as your state rep and as your neighbor and as your fellow Philadelphian to honor not just Corporal Cochran, but every American that gave their life in the ultimate sacrifice on the battlefield. Thank you.
So the tribute that I have here from the city of Philadelphia, from the Mayor James Kenney, reads as such. As the historic home of the foundation of many of our country's military branches, and that goes back to Revolution, the city of Philadelphia is proud of its illustrious role in shaping the revered institutions to protect all Americans and ensure the freedoms that were created by our founding fathers. Our military is the cornerstone of our nation's efforts to ensure that all citizens continue to live freely, and many generations have a brave and historic and heroic Philadelphians who proudly served in the military do their part to uphold the principles of freedom and democracy that are the legacy of Philadelphia and the Philadelphia vision for how the United States should be, I should add. The city of Philadelphia is grateful for our military and salutes the brave men and women who courageously serve for our benefit, especially those like Mr. Cochran, who has made the ultimate sacrifice. West Philadelphia native Corporal James Jimmy J. Cochran is one such local hero whose contributions will not be forgotten because of the reverence and respect our city has for our beloved veterans. Corporal Cochran was 23 when he was killed in action while serving in France in the 111th Infantry, Regiment Infantry during World War I. Born on March 17th, 27th of March 17th, 1895 to John and Ella Cochran, who emigrated from Ireland, excuse me. Yes, Ireland, yes. I have a little that too. Jimmy Cochran was a top bantamweight boxer in Philadelphia before his mother urged him to relinquish boxing. At age 18, he enlisted in the U.S. military on June 5th, 1917, and served in the 6th Regiment of the Pennsylvania National Guard, which became the 111th Infantry during the war. Before they landed in France, his unit sank 3 German submarines, according to a letter he wrote his family. Shortly after he was deployed to France, he was killed in action. A mass was held in his memory at St. Gregory's Roman Catholic Church, his family church, the VFW Post 251 on North Holly Street, which opened between 1919 and 1997, was named in his honor. Through the years, residents from the neighborhood have gathered to celebrate his life and honor his memory and legacy with special Memorial Day events held at 37th and Lancaster, Powelton Avenue. An Army veteran and Philadelphia historian, Joel Spivak, began holding the ceremony at the memorial that a decade ago, and members of the community maintain the site, which has a plaque that bears Corporal Cochran's name. On Monday, the 31st, 2021, the ceremony today will honor the 103rd anniversary of his death with members of the Cochran family in attendance this year. It is fitting and appropriate, therefore, that the city of Philadelphia officially recognize with this tribute Corporal James J. Cochran, and urge all Philadelphians to honor this local hero who valiantly served our country and made the ultimate sacrifice, and be thankful and appreciate of our local residents for contributing to the city's legacy to honor and cherish all veterans. And it's signed by James F. Kenny, the mayor of Philadelphia, on May 31st, 2021.
So, as Virginia mentioned, we both were featured in this book, Forgotten Philadelphia. She was the visual artist, and I was the writer assigned to sort of give voice to this this triangle here in West Philly that we didn't know at the time anything about it. So, my piece, I sort of imagined why this might be here and who Corporal Cochran might be, and his connection to our community. So this is an imagining of his last letter home, published in what I called the Powelton Evening Call. And it opens with an editor's note. It is with great appreciation to Miss Lilla Jean Cotter that we are able to publish the last known correspondence from Corporal James J. Cochran, who formerly resided at 3511 Baring Street in our fair Powelton Village. Corporal Cochran was reported killed in action on July 26, 1918, alongside Sergeant Clarence N. Turner of Van Buren, Arkansas, and several privates listed below. In great pride and respect, we honor these fallen men, particularly Cochran, who was an active and vibrant member of our community. Utmost condolences to the Cochran family, as well as Miss Cotter, with whom Corporal Cochran was engaged to be married. A town hall meeting is scheduled for September 22nd to discuss plans for a memorial. All are welcome. Signed, Linford P. Flaherty, Editor-in-Chief, Powelton Evening Call, September 1918. And then this is the imagined last letter. My dearest Lil, I write you each day, though I know many of my letters may never reach your precious hands. If I am blessed with a rare dream during my staggered sleep, it is of you, your smell and your smile, and those lovely hands I once held fast. When a letter does arrive from the harried post carrier, my heart leaps, and your words fuel me through another minute, day, another night, week, another month. You asked me not to spare you the details of my time here, and though I have never been able to say no to you, I cannot share the full horror of this experience. Knowing that you are safe, and that somehow my service will help to ensure your continued safety, is one of the few things that brings any sense to this. Do you remember we thought I'd only be away for a short while? I wish I'd held you longer on that last day. I wish I touched you once more, let you curl inside my arms even another minute. We remain in trenches. We dug ourselves, wondering all the while if these are to be our graves. We huddle together each night like farm animals, each man curled into the muddy, rank back of another man, each of us clutching our rifles. It is not uncommon to hear the younger ones weeping with terror and hunger and just plain shock. Many thought they'd be home by now. Many thought they'd be valiant, marching fearlessly towards the enemy, just boys as well, buoyant upon the wave of camaraderie and civic duty. There is no such romance in the trench, no room for fantasy or daydreams. We, each day, struggle simply to stay alive long enough to return home to the arms of those we love. We stay alive and hope desperately to escape forever this mud and blood and misery. There is an indescribable ache, a fevered longing for simple things. Sunlight, a lay down in the grass, a child laughing, a warm meal, a bed, clean, warm clothes. I am in charge of a small group of men who are barely out of short pants, and it pains me to watch the gleam slip from their eyes with each passing day. It is with great sadness that I report we lost Vernon 4 nights ago, and I held him as best as I could as he fought his way into the sweet hereafter. It took an excruciating hour for him to go, the only grace that he seemed to believe he was back at the farm in Indiana, helping his father break a mare. Private Viola is still with me, and his mother should know he is a brave and loyal soldier. Tell her I intend to keep my promise to bring him back, Lord willing. And to you, sweet Lila Jean, I intend to keep my promise to make you my wife, to share the rest of this precious life with you. I will buy us that home you gaze at each time we walk down the avenue. We will have a garden there. We will sit and watch the beautiful Philadelphia sunset there and greet each morning as it comes. When I dream of you, Lil, and it is the sole pleasure of my existence. Yours forever, Jim.
Looks like something from Hollywood.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Hi, I'm Susie Allred, the great niece or grand niece of James Cochran, and I want to tell you thank you for putting this wonderful annual celebration together for your neighborhood. It has made our family come together and share great moments. We have a very small family. There aren't that many military in the family at all, and this has really made us have a sense of what people went through during the war doing this research that some of the family members have done. And we came to Philadelphia where our Graham grew up, and we hadn't been here together ever, and we went to the cemetery and learned a lot about our family there from different our grandfather was buried there, Jimmy's father was buried there, Jimmy's mother was buried there, and we were able to know some of them don't have headstones, which, I mean, little trivia things that we just didn't know and took for granted, just didn't think to research. But thank you to the association. I mean, it all goes back to you guys bringing us here, getting us together, you contacting Elliot Wilczek, and you know, it just snowballed from there. And here we are having a wonderful time, and you fed us, and thank you. Thank you for the whole celebration. Thank you for the videography, for everybody, the singers, the whole group, the whole feeling was just wonderful. So thank you.
And I have a question.
Yes.
The pin you're wearing.
Yes. This is his mother,
Ella?
Ella, and this was given to her in 1924. She went to a VFW, Veterans of Foreign Wars, I guess, convention, and she was given this at that time. And it has her name on there.
And it says post 251.
Yes, yeah. So it's a little piece of history that we brought out of the drawer that, you know, didn't make any, you know, it made some sense, but now it's come to life. So thank you.
Let's see.
Well,
I guess
introduce yourself first.
Sure. It's Alexis Carachetti here with my father.
Bill Richardson. And I taught her all she knows.
Yeah. So it started with your letter to Elliot that then rapidly went through the family, and I had heard a little bit about my grandmother's brother, but just little snippets. And it happened to be at a time when I had an interest in genealogy, but I had no real direction. It was kind of a scattershot approach to genealogy, and then it kind of came into clear focus that I had one person that I could really focus on and get detail on, and that was John Cochran. Jamie Cochran. And so it was great because then I could just focus on him, his parents, where they were from, and what I really liked about the project is I really love maps. I do maps for a living, and like city planning, and the fact that they were watching Philadelphia and this family through time as his short life went by was just really neat.
You do good.